don't think there's a single person who has said October 7th didn't happen. Either people say it happened and it was good, or they say it happened and it was bad. I don't think there's a single fucking person that's like, October 7th never happened. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Happening right now. And we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. We've gathered today to talk about the scourge of anti-Semitism tonight. We're 2 weeks away from the one-year anniversary of the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Without question, on October 7th, which would have never happened if I was president, by the way, I have to always preface it by saying it would have never, ever happened. Innocent men, women, children, and babies were tortured, maimed, kidnapped, and killed. It was an amazing sight, especially if you were able to see, and you don't want to necessarily see it, some of the tapes and film that was made of the atrocity.
Bro said it was amazing. Bro said October 7th was amazing.
You have to take it that it is a wake-up call. Get smart. Instead, even here in America, Jewish citizens have been forced to endure the worst outbreak of anti-Semitism in many generations. And so many people shockingly even deny the attack took place. This is a new thing. I saw it recently where they're interviewing people. They said, well, we don't know if there was an attack. I don't know. It's just so terrible. And, you know, there were people I read many times.
Bro, I don't think there's a single person who has said October 7th didn't happen. Either people say it happened and it was good, or they say it happened and it was bad. I don't think there's a single fucking person that's like, October 7th never happened. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's happening right now. I never thought you'd ever see a thing like this ever happen. It's beyond belief. You know, 15 years ago, Israel was the strongest lobby, if you want to use the word lobby, had the strongest representation of people like this. These are great people, Miriam.
People like this.
But the strongest there was, if you said something about a Jewish person or something about Israel that was bad, you were out of politics. Unless your name was Ted Cruz, he could get through. I think Ted could get through, but maybe not. Maybe even Ted. But it's true. You said something about Israel that was bad. It was like, today, you have
What's crazy is like, what he's saying is not even wrong, but because he's pro-Israel, he can just say it. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about it, okay? We're wonderful.
Like right there, he's like, oh, back in the day, you can't
there are those
say
that say it's very much like a long time ago when you could say anything, but all across our land, you've
also, why did he call Ted
Jewish
Cruz an
Americans
anti-Semite?
harassed and attacked and terrorized by anti-Semites and Hamas sympathizers. I can't believe what we've been witnessing over the last year. Actually, I've watched it in great detail. I've watched it, and I've watched it take place. It's hard to believe. Yet, despite presiding over this explosion of anti-Semitism, Kamala Harris has done absolutely nothing. She has not lifted a single finger to protect you or to protect your children or to even protect you with words. I'm here today to tell the Jewish American community that this ugly tide of anti-Semitic pro-Hamas
he's gonna get
bigotry,
he's probably gonna drop in Jewish American support after this, by the way, which makes this so funny. American Jews who care about Israel predominantly have already made up their minds and have been historically Republican Party voters anyway. So I don't think he's going to win a single damn American Jewish vote beyond that point.
It will be a bright new day for the Jewish community in America. No longer will you have to walk the streets in fear. You're walking the streets in fear. Can you believe it? Young college students are afraid to go to college. It's not something that anybody thought they would ever hear or see. No longer will you be threatened on your college campuses. No longer will you be discriminated against in college admissions, and no longer will your own government import jihadists from
Trump plus 10 among Jewish voters in New York per Siena poll? No.
They want Jew haters from overseas, and they let them come in and resettle in your communities right here at home, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. My promise to Jewish Americans is this: with your vote, I will be your defender, your protector, and I will be the best friend Jewish Americans have ever had in the White House. You know that.
he had a guy who wore a Vitesse Rend. Yeah, Jewish voters favor Kamala Harris over Donald Trump 68 to 25%. But also, he had a guy who literally, not only did he fucking defend Nazis who said Jews will not replace us by calling them very fine people, he literally had a dude who was wearing his father's Hungarian Hitler Division brand.
Crazy. You have to do this. You have to do that. You don't know what I had to put up with. She was like the calming influence. I said, Sheldon, I can't do that. It's too much. He said, no, no. And every time I got something, he'd immediately start with something else, right? He'd get something, always fighting for Israel and the Jewish people. But, you know, I had such great respect for him.
Oh, yeah. He also had dinner.
Tell him, calm down.
He had dinner with Kanye West and Nicholas Fuentes,
Oh, no, we have
two admirers of Adolf Hitler.
Golan Heights. How about Golan Heights? They've been trying to get it for 72 years. I got it done in about 15 minutes, okay? So. Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one, I'll tell you. Even Sheldon couldn't believe that one. He said, we just got Golan Heights. They didn't even ask for it. I actually gave you that one. You didn't ask for it, but I thought it was important. Ground zero for the outbreak of the anti-Jewish hate under Kamala Harris has been our college campuses. At UCLA a few months ago, Marxist thugs dressed up like terrorists and created, quote, Jew exclusion zones, blocking Jewish students from entering parts of the campus. Can you imagine that? A week after the October 7th attack on Israel.
So how does the media that hates Donald Trump but loves defending Israel cover this? Do they just go, he made some very good points on this, very strong points on the issue of anti-Semitism? Is that what they're going to say?
Not even thinkable. And the colleges do nothing about it, too. Most of them. At Baruch College, a mob of Hamas supporters targeted a group of innocent Jewish freshmen at a welcoming dinner, shouted slurs and mocked them for the
Is there any evidence for the Jew exclusion zones? No, there's none. It was fucking bullshit. But, you know, the media did cover it as though it was real.
Loudly. At Columbia, you watched that along with everybody else. It was terrible. They took control of the school buildings, these magnificent buildings. They beat the hell out of them, by the way. And the campus became so dangerous for Jewish students at the university, rabbi told them, please go home, go home. A Yale professor called October 7th an extraordinary day. It was a great day, he said. A Cornell professor said that these heinous attacks were, quote, exhilarating and energizing to everyone. Kamala Harris said that the radical demonstrators on college campuses were, quote,
why is Israel not allowed to defend itself? Honest question. Great question. International law. That's it. You can't be a fucking regional power like that and quote unquote defend yourself legally under international law against a group of people that you are the belligerent occupier of. So it's technically not defense. You can say anything is defense, but it's not defense at all.
They're pouring in at levels we've never seen before. And she was the border czar. She now says she wasn't, but she was still in charge of the border. She's the one that did it. And I will tell you, the message that she gave is wrong. It's dangerous and it's unbefitting a candidate for the president of the United States. So think of it. Let's assume 350 million. We're down to 2. I told our great First Lady the other day, well, we're down to 2, and now we're leading in the polls by, I think, a lot. I'm calling on Kamala Harris to officially disavow the support of all Hamas sympathizers, anti-Semites, Israel haters on college campuses and everywhere else.
The saddest part about this is that Kamala Harris will say that and has said that. Like, she will be like, she'll totally get into, she'll totally cave the right-wing framing on this and be like, Donald Trump is right. I disavow all of the Hamas lovers.
She's not going to do it. She's going to talk. She's going to talk about nothing, talk about the weather. And sadly, and I have to say this, and it hurts me to say it, you're going to still vote for Democrats, and it doesn't make sense. I say all the time that any Jewish person that votes for her, especially now, her or the Democrat Party, should have their head examined. It's true. And, you know, I just find it so hard to believe, and part of it is habit, I guess. And respectfully, with all that I've done, I'll maybe go over it quickly, but Miriam did it better than I could, all the different things with Golan, with all of the things that we did. And really, the one thing we didn't mention is I terminated the Iran nuclear deal, and that is, I think, the biggest of them all. But thank you. The problem is we could have had a deal, any deal we wanted. Michael knows that better than anybody. But Biden and
I think
Harris,
what's very funny about this is that, like, one, he's just simply complaining about, like, Jews not voting for him, which is hilarious. But also, two, he thinks the only thing that works in terms of, like, motivating the Jewish American vote is just, like, Israel shit. And that's just wrong. But because the media constantly fucking reiterates this point, as though, like, all Jews universally think that, like, Israel is the only thing that fucking matters, both parties, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, operate under this fucking totally false binary. This false notion that, like, Jews are a monolithic voting bloc that only cares about fucking Israel. So that's the reason why the only thing he's saying to this American Jewish Conference is basically, I did Israel for you. Come on, I did Israel for you. It's like, dog, what do you mean you did Israel for them? They're Jews in America. Yeah, there are definitely, like, you know, Miriam Adelson in the room fucking cares about that, and the 8 other people that are clapping care about that shit. But most American Jews are not going to be like, oh, that's my number one thing. The anti-Semitism stuff is probably significantly better as a line of attack, both against Kamala Harris and also, like, for Donald Trump to be like, oh, anti-Semitism is, like, rising in America and Kamala Harris is not doing anything about it. However, every American Jew remembers what your supporters were saying and doing. So that is going to be very hard for a lot of people to just, like, overlook.
Violence, harassment, or threats against Jewish students, the schools will be held accountable for violations of the civil rights law. It's very important.
Realize that all the Jewish people he knows are ultra-Zionists? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like old, very wealthy Jewish mega donors to the fucking Republican Party. That's the only people he knows. So he thinks like, oh yeah, all Jews like this, right? Come on, Israel, 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 Israel.
On their way to synagogue in Los Angeles just recently, beaten on their way. Jewish American businesses have been vandalized, yet once again, the Harris-Biden administration has done absolutely nothing about it, doesn't even comment. Here in Washington, radical Hamas supporters tore down the American flag in front of Union Station, set it on fire, and hoisted the Palestinian flag, while police officers and they were spray painting at police officers and at the beautiful monuments surrounding.
Have you seen the Daily Beast report that a prominent Jewish family was behind the financial support of the pro-Palestinian protests on university campuses? I have not.
This is a stone. It's limestone.
I did not see that, but it's not surprising to me.
Spray paint, limestone. You'll see it in 100 years. They can take it off, but they can't really take it off. You'll see everything that they said in 100 years. It's a very porous stone. And what they've done is unbelievable. But I don't see them getting long sentences in prison like happened to other people. I don't see them even being approached or attacked in any way. They allow them to do it. But watch those limestones. I looked at them the other day, and that stone just sucks up that paint. It goes deep. You're going to see it in 100 years from now. Kamala Harris, let them go. She said, let them go. I will end this political violence and harassment once and for all. You know, when I was president, we had a moment where Washington was, in a sense, being attacked. They were trying to pull down statues, and I pulled out about an 1897 statute. Very
He shouldn't
important,
remind.
and it said that anybody touching, ripping
He shouldn't remind Americans the last time he defended people who were protesting a statue being taken down. You know, when they were saying Jews will not replace us at Charlottesville.
Would you serve 3 days? It's 10 years, and you serve all 10 years. You couldn't get a thing like that passed today, I don't think. What do you think, Ted? Not too easily. If you got 2 days, it would be a miracle. No, it's 10 years. It was so old. I lifted up this. It was old and dusty, but it read beautifully. And I invoked it, and I had a speech. I said, here's the story. Anybody touching a statue, and it ended when they had Abraham Lincoln ready to be pulled over. You remember that? They said, Abraham Lincoln, now we're hitting Lincoln. And I read it, and I told people that anybody from this moment on that pulls down anything or even tries to pull down a statue, you go into jail for 10 years. And it was an amazing sight, Miriam. Everybody just dropped the ropes.
It's so funny that he keeps calling out Miriam Adelson by name.
They started walking out of town.
How many people are in that room?
Thousands of asses from the back. And it was a beautiful sight.
It
was a beautiful sight. It was a beautiful sight.
This is a little bit more.
They just started walking in a
zoomed
different
out,
direction.
but it
And that
doesn't
was
show
the
the
last of the
crowd.
problem we had. Remember the big problems we were having? They actually wanted to rip down Thomas Jefferson Memorial. They didn't like Jefferson. They didn't like Washington.
Dude, what are you talking about, dude? Like, these are all things, like, dude, come on. Like, I already brought this up, but, like, obviously American Jews don't only care about Israel and don't care about Israel all that much, with the exception of, like, fucking the freaks like Miriam Adelson and shit, right? But beyond that, I feel like when talking about, like, talking to American Jews, this is your opportunity to win over the American Jewish vote, okay? You're talking about Thomas Jefferson, like, who gives a shit, dude? What are you talking about?
But open to terrorists and criminals. She's supported unlimited migration from terrorist hotbeds into the United States, especially some of the hotbeds that most hate Israel. Under Bordazar Harris, armies of foreign Hamas sympathizers now march brazenly through our cities. They're literally marching in our cities, and
I'm a single issue voter, and my issue is statue preservation.
Very vicious, violent parts of the world, and they do not like Jewish people, and they do not like Israel, and they've let that be known, and we are not going to tolerate
That's awesome.
it. I will not let what happened to Paris, what happened to London.
That's fucking amazing. He's saying anti-Semitism is on the rise, also because of migrants.
Happen here in America. It's not going to happen. We will deport the foreign jihad sympathizers and Hamas supporters from our midst. We will get them out of our country. I will ban
Dude, this man's brain is so broken, dude.
Infested areas like the Gaza Strip, and we will seal our border and bring back the travel ban. You remember the famous travel ban? We didn't take people from certain
Who do you
areas
think
of
has
the
a,
world because I didn't
you know,
want to
who do you think
have people ripping
has a
down and burning
firm
shopping centers and
opinion
killing
on Jewish people, the Haitian migrants that are living in Springfield, Ohio, or the literal neo-Nazi movement that is marching against them? I wonder who out of those two groups openly and actively hates Jews. Like, we're not even talking about Israel. We're just straight up talking about Jews, okay? I wonder who actually is increasing anti-Semitism in America. The newcomer migrants or the neo-Nazis that want to purge them and also claim Jews are bringing them into the United States of America?
We will have a temporary 10% cap on credit card interest rates because they're paying 20 and 25% and they're getting decimated. So it'll be a temporary 10% cap. But look, this is the most important election in the history of the United States, and it's also the most important election in the history of Israel. The United States election is the most important election in the history of Israel, actually, if you think about it. How crazy does that sound? But it's true. With all I have done for Israel, I received only 24%.
I love listening to like pro-Israel people yap because they're just so
I really
transparent.
haven't
They're so radically
That's the
honest.
story of my life.
They're so radically honest.
Think of it. But I understood that because I wasn't really tested. I wasn't a politician, and I won, but I understood that. And then I became president and was the best president ever for the people of Israel and for Jewish people, the best president ever. And
wait, Mary Miller is there?
I did more for them than any president has, and probably any president can do or will do, other than the current.
Mary Miller is at the event. It's got to be a different one,
We're
right?
still going to know if we win